So first of all, hello and welcome everybody to the second live webinar that we're offering at Transcend International on coaching. Thank you so much for being with us today. Today we're actually going to be talking about one of my favorite coaching topics to address, being, well, what is coaching? Because as well, those of you who already are coaches or experienced a bit in the domain know that this is a very frequent question we get. Many people actually wonder in the end, what is coaching and why do I need coaching? What are the benefits of coaching? Why should I become a coach, right? So hopefully you'll be able to walk out today after this webinar with answers to all those questions. This webinar is in fact part of a series of 12 live, quite interactive coaching webinars that we're offering you here at Transcend International on various foundational and advanced coaching topics for anybody interested in coaching. So this is whether you're a non-coach, a beginner coach, or even an experienced coach. So I do invite you to go and have a look on our website at the full calendar of upcoming live webinars that we are offering. And I'm sure you'll find some interesting concepts and topics in weeks and months to come. Okay, so let's move on. I'm going to ask Craig if he can change slide. Perfect. Okay, so Transcend International, what are we and who are we? Well, actually, no. Before I start with Transcend International, I'm going to actually start by introducing myself. So at least you know who's speaking to you right now. So my name is Lisa Rosen, and I am a certified professional coach from Transcend International. I also work at Transcend International as head of public programs development, which is a big title, which basically means that my role is, well, my responsibility is to make sure that we get people enrolled in our fantastic coach training programs, okay? I actually did my own coach training with Transcend last year. And I would say that it was such an incredible and transformative experience and journey for myself, both personally and professionally, that, well, today I'm working at Transcend, and hence that's why I'm sitting in front of you today, hosting this webinar. Okay, so Transcend International. So for those of you who don't know us, who are we and what do we do? Well, Transcend International is in fact a leading global accredited coach training, so professional coach training and services organization based in Hong Kong. And basically we provide both coach trainings to people who want to become coaches or get coaching skills. We deliver executive coaching to people who want to get coached. And we also provide leadership development programs to corporates and various organizations who are looking for coaching within their organizations, okay? And on your screens, you can actually see our mission statement, which is a mission statement we developed many, many, many years ago. And in fact, today, given today's context, it is, I would say, quite, it's quite applicable, unfortunately, in what we are all facing today with this current coronavirus and how this has impacted us. As our mission is, amongst other things, to help individuals and organizations adapt and optimize in the face of increasing pressure, stress, and overwhelm. Okay. Next, I'm going to be presenting you our speaker for tonight. Craig McKenzie will be delivering this webinar to you in just a few moments. And Craig is, of course, a coach. And he is director of Transcend International as being one of the lead senior coaches of the organization. And I would just say, you can obviously read for yourselves and go and have a look on his LinkedIn, all his extensive experience. I would just like to say that having personally worked and having been trained by Craig, I can assure you that he's a highly experienced, competent, and inspiring leader and coach to be around. So I'm going to leave the floor to Craig, and I'll see you later on at the end of this webinar.
Thanks, Lisa. Appreciate that. And welcome to everybody. I am just going to leave my video on for a moment. Just so you see that I'm a human and all that sort of stuff. But won't leave it on through the program just because it's a bit confusing for me as well. So let me just take it off now, and we're going to do our first poll. So you've met us, and I'm not going to talk anymore about myself, but we're going to begin with a poll to find out a little bit about you. So Lisa is going to launch that poll, and you have a few moments to answer, and that's all and then we'll find out. So when you're ready, Lisa, just launch that poll, and if you're having challenges, let me know, and I'll do it.
Yeah, Craig, can you hear me?
Okay, I'll do it. Done.
Yeah.
Okay, so the poll is launched.
Yeah. Great.
So you have a little bit of time to do this. Just what description best describes who you are? Awesome, almost everybody. We're hitting near the 100% voted range, which gives us a chance to find out who's in the room. All right, so someone might have came and didn't vote, but here we are at so here you go. You can see the poll results this. So as we look at who's with us today, we have a pretty balanced blend of people in the various categories that we've created. So yeah, very interesting. We will have time for questions kind of section by section. So if, and there'll be times where we'll maybe open the chat for you to put questions in. There's also a Q&A area that you can ask questions in. So feel free just to type in a question whenever, and we'll answer that when we can. Sometimes at the break in the division of the sections, and some will defer to the end. The plan is about 45 minutes of content, so we'll finish in about 9:45 or so. Around that time, maybe 10 to. And then we'll take the remaining questions. And of course, some people are eager to get on to other things. So we'll make sure we're done on time so that you can enjoy whatever's left of your evening wherever you are in the world, or your morning if you happen to be in Europe or Great Britain. Okay. So a little bit about us, and it won't be too much, but just to help you understand sort of why we're talking about this. So we've been pioneering coaching excellence in Hong Kong and Asia, and moving globally in the last 3 years. And we started here. So just to give you some idea, you can read this on your own and see who are we to talk about this. So certainly we're pioneers in this coaching profession in this region. We have extensive work with internal coaches. This training coaches in multiple countries and developing internal coaching capacity, helping organizations develop high quality coaches within their organizations, which is one of our focuses. And then also external coaches, so people that want a career in coaching. And there's a bunch of pieces of the puzzle there: coach training, supervision, mentor coaching, accreditation, support, education. We'll talk a little bit more about that as time goes on. We're involved in the coaching in the region quite strongly. So myself and our chairman and CEO, who is also with us tonight, and I'll bring him on a little bit later. We've been past presidents of the ICF Hong Kong. We're, as an organization, we're founding members of the EMCC in the region. We're also in partnership, close partnership with David Clutterbuck, who's the co-founder of the EMCC globally, and Hong Kong International Coaching Community. Strongly involved in that. I think Tony was president for about 6 years or 8 years. I was on the board, and he's still involved in that organization, as well as many of our alumni and coaches. We also are the first and only, as far as we know, organization in the Asian region who has attained dual accreditation with both the ICF and the EMCC. So people that take our programs can work in both of these areas, both of these organizations achieve a credential. So this just gives you a sense of, like, we kind of know a little bit about this coaching thing, and that we've become specialists in this area. It's really the core of offering that we have. And my role is really focused on developing the coach education side, curriculum, accreditation, and standards of education. So the first question we're going to walk through, and you're going to be involved here in a moment through some polls again, is what is coaching? So first of all, just a little bit about the world of coaching. And this is just, when you hear the word coaching, there's this whole industry around it. So here are some of the ways that we might think of coaching. Most commonly, one-on-one. Then there's group coaching, which is again becoming increasingly common because it's slightly more cost effective and tends to work first-line managers or leadership programs, where what we have is a coach and a group of sometimes quite large groups of people that are moving in the same direction. But they're not a team, which is a different form of coaching. And the last webinar last week, which you can ask us for the recording or access it through Facebook, then the team coaching is also another aspect of what we do. And that's, again, very different than a group, because a group is a number of individuals with their own goals moving in a similar direction. A team, one of the key differentiators is the team has a goal. So team coaching is another way coaching happens right now. Coaching supervision, another part of the profession where some of us and our whole director team is trained as supervisors, is to help people reflect, develop reflective practice, and remain fit for purpose, high levels of professional and ethical standards. We offer certified coach education, ICF, EMCC, and that's part of the world of coaching as well. People do coaching skills training, to name some of the ways. And then around that, there's a whole bunch of other industries that have developed, people that help coaches start business, coaches that help people who help coaches optimize their social media presence. So there's a whole industry around coaching, and it's very exciting and it's growing. So when you think of coaching, think maybe broadly, not just narrowly. But what is this thing called coaching, and what is it like? So I believe I need to launch this poll, so I will. Oh, I didn't stop sharing. Let me go back here. Okay. So let me launch the second poll. And this question, you want me to pay attention to the question. What are the following do you think coaching is the most similar to? So what do you think it's like? Most similar. Oh, right away. So I can see the results coming in. So right away, it was like every answer was given, and now we're getting some splits. So we'll begin to see how this works. Thank you very much for your quick participation. And this will actually guide the content to some degree. So I'll adapt what we say based on the answers that you give here. All right. I also opened it up to panelists to vote if they wanted to. But let me give just a moment. And we'll end that poll. And then let me just, interestingly, I'll share the results. Let me just show you that. So which of the following do you think coaching is the most similar to? The answer that came up most commonly was mentoring, followed distantly by consulting and counseling. And actually, that's quite true. Out of all of those other things, mentoring is likely the closest in some ways. Certainly our work with Professor David Clutterbuck, who founded the EMCC, developed a team coaching methodology quite a few years ago, and also initial research on mentoring. At a low end, mentoring is advice giving from a position of experience. But at a very high end of mentoring, a mentor would use the skills of a coach to empower and create ownership with their clients in a very professional way. So mentoring can range from being very, very casual to being quite formal. Coaching and mentoring are distinct from each other, and I'll give you a couple of ways. One is that usually mentoring is casual. It is not as formal a relationship. It doesn't have a start and end date. It's not 6 sessions or 10 sessions. I myself had a mentor for about 22 years. A very significant part of my leadership development and my career development when I was leading organizations. So mentoring can be this unending process. And very often there's this expectation of experience sharing, which is a big part of it, whereas the coach, skillful coaches will use their experience to ask a higher quality of question and to create more thought and empower their clients more. So it's slightly different, reasonably different. But let's ask another question and just find out what you think the answer is to this one. So let me just see if I skipped one. Which of the following do you think that clients will confuse coaching with? So it'll be the same options for you. The poll's been launched. The idea here is just what do you think clients will confuse coaching with? Yeah, I see the results are coming in. Very good. Thank you. I feel like I could call a race a little bit. It is Wednesday in Hong Kong, so the races are on. Counseling is out in front by more than a nose. It's leading down the back stretch and very likely to win. Yeah, just a couple of more seconds for you. Excellent. All right. Well, almost everybody's voting. That's great. So let me just share those results with you. You can see right away that counseling came up as the most likely to be confused by clients. And actually, and consulting and mentoring as well are there. And this is likely true. In the mind of the buyer of coaching, often they're confused a little bit between counseling, that they think it's helping them with their problems, and it's overcoming things. And as far as as far as the client is concerned, very often, life coaching in particular, the boundary can seem a lot, like I'd say, seem a lot closer than it really is. And very often the way life coaches talk about what they do, it's very similar sounding to counseling. And in very skilled coaches, like for example, Tony, our CEO and chairman, is a trained counselor. He has a counseling practice and a coaching practice. And we've trained a lot of counselors to coach, and they see it as very distinct differences, but they would all report that their clients are confused. Maybe a simple differentiation that we like to use in our program is that people come to counseling usually because something that's happened in the past has created some emotional, psychological challenge for them or dysfunction that's affecting their ability to function in the present. And they need healing, in order to move on. In coaching, we're not really concerned with healing, and we presuppose a level of functionality for coaching to be effective. So coaching is not really concerned with helping people heal particularly psychological, emotional challenges or traumas or overcome distortions that have come from that. But coaching is much more concerned with helping people move toward their potential. And a very skilled and professional coach will be very careful about this line and not cross it. And that's very, very key. So very interesting results. Okay, one more question and then the polling phase is over. Which of the following do you think coaches struggle the most with not doing? And I'll launch that one as well. So there you go. Each poll took about 1 minute, and that's all. All right, and again, counseling is there a little bit. Leading and consulting. This one's kind of close. We'll see. The last, if you haven't voted and you are able to vote, make sure you take a minute to do that, because you might break the tie, because we're pretty close here in a few. Or maybe four polls is too many, and you're already tired of polls. Okay, so let me just end that, and I'll share the results. So basically, counseling came out on top, and consulting and leading are also there. So counseling, it can be a problem for coaches, definitely. And usually it drives from the fact that often people that become coaches love to help people. So I was training our coaches online this morning. We were talking about this idea of over-helping and how that takes away empowerment and ownership from their clients when coaches pay attention to their need to over-help. And that often comes up where coaches will look at that. Consulting also is the second one, and that's actually one of the common ones as well, where coaches really struggle with giving advice and coming up with solutions. Ones that have been managers will have a problem-solving orientation very often, and very often have a diagnostic sort of mind. They're trying to diagnose the problem and then offer a solution, because that's what they did. And that's really hard for people to, we say unlearn before you can learn. And there is a challenge to unlearn some of the behaviors around consulting. Leading to some degree as well, where coaches sometimes feel like their role is to get people where the coach thinks they should go. And as we talk about what coaching really is, there's this strong partnership dimension to coaching. So it's really not about me ever deciding, choosing, directing you to where you should go. It's much more about me skillfully leading you into your own resources, your own empowerment, your own abilities, own accountability, and own responsibility for your growth, development, and achievement of goals. So there you go. So those are some of the things that are often confused with coaching, and coaching is none of them. Though, the way we would frame this, we would say that coaching goes right here in the middle. Circles are all concentric. That means that we might use the skills that we have in these other areas in order to draw on those to enhance our coaching, but also people who are managing, leading, counseling, mentoring, training, consulting will also draw upon coaching skills in order to enhance their ability to function in that realm of choice. So let me pause here and just, if you have questions, you can either, I think Lisa's going to open the chat box if she can, but she might not be able to do that. I don't really know.
Yeah, Craig, so I'm here, but I'm not able to share my video and there's some technical issues. so I will let you.
Okay, so if you have a question, thanks Lisa. If you have a question, I'm just going to say type it into the Q&A. So one question that came in already is about just would I, Craig McKenzie, that is me, be the lecturer for Module 1 to Module 4. I am normally involved in the delivery of all of our programs, but our delivery is done by our delivery team, which includes myself, certainly Tony Dickel, our chairman and CEO, and also we have been developing and continue to develop our alumni and coaches to become certified and qualified deliverers of the program, making sure there's no drop in quality. And certainly we would say that we're still a long ways away from that. So most of the programs are delivered by myself and Tony in tandem. And then Michelle Chen, who speaks Mandarin fluently, Cantonese, and primarily are the languages that she delivers in. And she delivers our Cantonese and Mandarin programs in Hong Kong and in China as well. So that was answered. Any other questions? Feel free about the difference between coaching and other things. Okay, well, let's shift on to a coaching definition for modernity. So the idea is that how do we define this thing called coaching? So what is coaching? There needs to be some definition. So the EMCC and the ICF have organization-based definitions. And there's a number of other organizations, very few global. These are the two main global ones, but a lot of regional and even some country-specific ones who want to credential coaches and coach educators. So we did a study basically and found that some of the common factors in all of their definitions are things like this. And we're going to explore these a little bit more over the next few minutes. But basically this idea, client focused, quality of thinking, it involves something about thinking, relational and conversational. Coaching is a conversation. And then it's potential focused, future focused. Very much language that's around that is there. And, as an organization, we have our own definition, which we see that these kinds of things that coaching promises and organizations say, here's what coaching is. We see this as done in a specific way. So a coach does this by helping a client to be clear on their goals. Firstly, be clear on their goals. And then help them remain present with what they need to be attentive to in order to make optimal moment-by-moment choices which lead toward those goals. So our point of view on coaching is what's really happening at a very micro level, which has a macro impact in the coaching relationship, is that our clients are becoming more resourceful in moments of choice. And they remember what's really important in moments of choice and help them develop the ability to consistently choose to take actions that lead toward the outcomes, results, impacts, dreams, purposes that they desire. And then it really boils down to that. And that it sounds very simple and extremely complex. And that is exactly that. Yeah, that's what it is. So let's explore these dimensions of it just to help you really understand what coaching is about. So the first dimension that we're going to look at is this idea of partnership. And what I'm going to do is just share a perspective on it. Feel free to type questions in if you have them. And then I'm going to invite Tony to share his perspective on each of these that we have time to get through. So the first is this whole idea of partnership. And this is really interesting because this is where coaches struggle a lot with leading, consulting, and even counseling in many ways. Because when I take the position of the person that diagnoses your problem and offers a solution, what I've actually done is ceased to be a partner with you and ceased to trust that you're the best person to be the author of your own life in many ways or to solve your problems. So we work hard with our coaches to help them to really understand the moments where they're choosing not to be in partnership with their clients. Interesting, one of our local Cantonese coaches was working with a lot of local clients. She's an author as well, and she was trying to figure this out and realized that in many ways that the concept of partnership is a bit of a struggle for at least the people that she knew that were local Cantonese Chinese here in Hong Kong. And we've explored this idea in China and other hierarchical cultures as well, this whole idea of I'm not equal, they're either greater than me or I'm greater than them. But this whole idea of equal is hard. So very often in the Chinese mind, we actually have this whole idea of the coach is equal, but slightly above equal. And that seems to settle it. But this whole idea of partnering with someone is really, really key. So what I'm going to do is hopefully, I think Tony's a panelist, so he can jump in. If you want to start your video, Tony, that might be good so people see that you're an actual human.
Good evening. I'm trying to start my video, but all I can see, I don't think I look like that arrow that is appearing, our logo. So the video is obviously not working. So I'll turn it off. Yeah, so thank you, Craig. So just the thing that I often say personally about the partnering thing is that it's really the recognition that what is often blocking people from achieving their goals or the outcomes that they're looking to achieve. It's often not, especially for more senior people. It's not about the skills that they have. It's not about the knowledge or experience that they have. It's about their ability to use the skills and the knowledge and the experience that they have in the right context at the right time in order to get the right result. And really, this is really what coaching is about, is to bring awareness. The individuals often have skills and resources that they're using in different or related contexts where they're able to bring the best of themselves into a particular situation. And quite often, in certain contexts, that is breaking down so that a person is not expressing themselves optimally in a specific environment. So a classic example would be a person may be able to speak in a way that inspires others, perhaps one-to-one or in a small group. But as soon as they move into a board meeting or perhaps with their boss, it all breaks down and they fall apart because something else is going on with them in that moment. Something is blocking them from being able to use all of the skills and resources that they have. So it's kind of about that. The second thing, which is interesting, and I won't have time to go into it, but I'm just going to leave you with it, is the difference between coaching and many other things is something like this. If you believe that you know where the conversation is going, a conversation that you're in, if you believe that you know where that conversation is going, then that conversation probably is not coaching. Coaching is very much about being present enough to actually be of most use to your client in the moment, to help them pay attention moment by moment to the resources that they have within and without, again and again, moment by moment, despite stress, despite agitation, paying attention to the resources that they have in order to get the results that they're looking to achieve in their work and in their life. Yeah. Thanks, Greg. That's what I've got to say on that. I'm done.
Excellent. The second area is this area of quality of thinking. And again, you'll see we keep our definition there because we want it to be in your mind, but also this whole idea of increasing the quality of thinking. And this is a phrase that I'll often use when I talk to my clients who are considering coaching and people that are learning about it, is that the quality of thinking, that means the breadth, the depth, the areas of consideration that people have, and even the amount of thinking. A number of my executive clients will report that the only time that they really get to think about what they're doing, strategic, the impact, is in the coaching conversation, where they're out of the mess, the challenges, the stress, the speed of their normal life. And they get a pause that comes from coaching, where my role is to challenge them in their thinking. And that's absolutely key. This is quite a big one. I had a client who hired me specifically in order to just ensure that he was thinking thoroughly enough about a very large decision that he was making. And he was wise enough to say, I know I'm not thinking of all the angles. I don't completely trust my own mind, my own way. I mean, he trusts it a lot, but he wants someone else to challenge. And in a creative way, in a partnering way. And so we worked together to partner to help him ensure that he had given the type of thinking that was required for a decision that was going to impact a lot of people. And that was quite a responsible and interesting way. And again, Tony, love to hear what your thoughts on this quality of thinking.
Yeah, thanks for that. So I'll try to be really brief because I really do want to leave enough time at the end for questions. So this is, as Greg said, it's a really big one, and we call it the development, and some of you may have heard of it, metacognitive awareness or metacognitive skill. The ability to notice how it is that you are thinking about things, and how that pattern of thinking that comes up sometimes, often automatically, how that pattern of thinking may be either enabling or interfering with your progress to the outcomes that you would like to have. There's often, as many of you may be aware, automatic patterns of thinking that pop up relative to things that happen to us, that take us away from attending to that which is important to us, that which we most care about. And we need to help a person to bring awareness to these patterns of thinking. And more importantly in coaching, especially in developmental and transformational coaching, to create automatic thought patterns and automatic ways of generating emotions that drive the results that they want rather than the things that they don't want. So a lot of the work that we do is helping people to bring what is hijacking their attention into the conscious domain so that it can be seen and then worked with, noticed, and then either set aside or changed, changing the stories, changing the narratives to more align with the results that people want. And by the way, this sounds very, very simple. And in fact, it is simple. It is simple, but it is far from easy to do this. And what we're really trying to do with our entire approach is to break it down to the first principles. What are you really doing as a coach? And if you can have in your mind as a coach what it is that you're really doing, what it is that you're about, then the coaching becomes easy, becomes straightforward.
Excellent. Thanks, Tony. You know, in one of the models that we developed ourselves as thought leaders for this, we have a phrase in there where we talk about ways of thinking. And that's really, really, really key. The last piece is just this: it's focused on potential. Coaching is really, has this wonderful focus on all the potential possibilities that people can achieve, and helping people to think differently about that, partnering with them to uncover, unlock, discover, develop, maximize, connect with, whatever kind of words we want to use about it, in order to help people really begin to achieve. And for us, it's very often helping people move beyond some of the simple ways they think about, the trite ways they think about their potential, to actually much deeper ways. Not just what can I do, but who can I be? And that's at the transformational dimension of our work, where we're really helping people to access those parts of themselves, and connect with that.
Yeah.
So
the
Tony, do you want to
being
add something? Because
just very quickly, I want to basically say that coaches kind of know one of the things that coaches know is that people have a lot more potential than they believe that they have, and that potential is often limited by what we call fake news. Fake news is in the mind. It's not necessarily out there; it's in the mind. False appearances to the mind, which keep us trapped or entrapped, stop us from achieving our full potential. And again, coach's job is to help a client to see their own fake news, part of their job. Oh, I'm done.
Thank you, Tony. Excellent. So, just to sum up, I mean, hopefully we're painting a picture of what we see as the high quality, high standards of professional coaching. And this gives you a picture of that. Now, of course, what we're doing here is about 35 minutes of about 150 hours of coach education. That makes up the full work that we do with coaches to help them develop to a truly high level. That's the goal. So this gives you some ideas, hopefully, of what it is. I would say this, if you, the best way to learn about coaching, if you're not sure, is to get a coach. So to experience coaching, and we would be delighted if you might be interested in being coached by one of our students in process, which is possible. We're also looking at potentially being coached by some of our graduates or even ourselves if that interests you. That's a way to experience it. And our also programs are divided into ways that you can sort of dip in and have a bit of entry. So with that, I'm going to shift gears and pass it back to Lisa and let her connect at this stage. And then Tony and I will come back in a few moments and take questions until the top of the hour. So Lisa, take it away when you're ready.
Great. Okay. So thank you so much. There's a few technical issues, meaning that my video is refusing to start. So you'll just hear me and not see me. These are the wonders of live, of course, of live webinars. Well, we'd love to speak with you. So first of all, I hope you enjoyed this brief introduction to what coaching is and what coaching is not. And I do hope that we've managed to answer some of your questions and queries. As I mentioned to you in the beginning, Transcend International, we do many things. We want to bring more coaching into this world. So if you want to, be coached by, our executive coaches or students in training, or you want to become a coach by attending one of our coach trainings, or you think we can help you and your organizations develop by providing coach trainings and workshops, then do contact us. You can see our email, academy@transcendinternational.com. We'd love to just have a chat with you and see how we can help you and how we can support you. Right, Craig, can I ask you to move on to the next slide? Great, thank you. So, well, for those of you who are particularly interested in becoming a coach or maybe gaining some specific coaching skills, this can be of interest to you. So we have our professional coach trainings and certification programs. So as I mentioned, you decide on the level of certification. So they range from just coaching skills to the full accreditation pathways. Our programs are duly accredited by the ICF and the EMCC. We provide both online and in-person trainings. So even a mix, we have people signing up and just doing a mix of in-person and online. We offer flexible solutions. So again, just contact us and we would be happy to speak to you. Now, we are offering a special webinar promotion for 2 upcoming coach trainings. One is initially was planned to be an in-person, but seems very likely it might actually become a virtual given the current context. Will be taking place in 2 weeks' time, the module 1 intake on May 5th to 7th. And we also have a second intake of our online coach training program, which will be starting in July 2020. So today we are offering a very special discount, a 20% discount for the first 10 registrations. So if you are interested, please email us now at this very specific email address, which is register@transcend-international.com. And yes, just email us and we will get back to you tomorrow as soon as we can. And we'd love to speak with you and we'd love to support you in your own coaching journey. Okay, I think that's it for me. And now we're going to move on to the Q&A session. So feel free to add your questions to the Q&A or the chat part.
Thank you. Yeah. So there's a little bit, a couple of questions that have come through. So let me just maybe begin to take those. Please feel free. I've turned my video on, so hopefully you can see me. Someone has asked, can you explain more about the process of getting globally accredited? Certainly, I can. It is a large topic with lots of complexities, especially since we work with 2 different organizations. The way I like to describe it to people is that there are different components to it. So there's an educational requirement that needs to be met. So our program meets the educational requirements for ICF and EMCC. Then there's always a level of a coaching practice requirement. So this is the number of hours of coaching that you've done through it. Those hours are not in a program for the ICF, but for the EMCC, some of the hours in the program can be counted, as well as some previous hours that are validated by us in the context of the EMCC. Then there's an assessment requirement. And again, it depends on which credential you're going for, what assessment level you need to take. And that's, the assessment is conducted by us for, if you take modules 1 to 4, then we do an assessment at the end at the professional certified coach level for the ICF and at the practitioner level for EMCC. And if you take only module 1 and 2 and you aim for the ICF credential, the entry level credential, then the assessment is done by them. And then there's so assessment, and then a mentor coaching requirement as well, or supervision requirement from EMCC. We make sure that that's covered within the program, but again, it depends on what you enroll in. So generally, I try to take, or myself or Tony will usually have the conversation with you about which program is right for you depending on which credential you want to achieve and in what your time frame is. So we're happy to discuss that with you. Let me just check for more questions. Does it undermine you as a coach if you do end up giving advice if your client has asked you directly for some advice? Here's the idea. It doesn't undermine you as a coach, but what happens is if you're working and promising a partner relationship and the client elevates you and you elevate yourself by giving advice, then the relationship's changed. And again, it depends how it's done. There's so much context to it, but a big part of our training is really working with you very closely as you develop your coaching skills. We're very serious about observation, about mentor coaching, about developmental feedback. So we really help you with that. If you persist in giving advice, then very often what happens is the relationship changes, and potentially some clients won't come back because it's not really what they want, even though they asked for it. That makes sense.
I'd like to add something here, Craig, if I may, if you can hear me.
Yes, go ahead.
So around giving advice, so from a neurological point of view, modern neuroscience has added so much to this field of coaching, and what modern science says about advice is that advice rarely, is rarely taken on board by a recipient of the advice. Even if the person thinks the advice is good, it often doesn't generate enough movement. And that is because advice is processed through the language center of the brain. And it's not the language center of the brain where motivation resides. Motivation resides in a deeper part of the brain, which is responsible for emotions. And insight is processed through the emotional center. So what a coach is really doing is helping to create the conditions for insight. And when the coach does that, when somebody has a moment of aha through the work that you're doing with them, it is much more likely that will then create movement and then action. So that's the other angle of advice giving versus coaching.
All right, thanks, Tony. We have very little time left and a few more questions to answer. Apologies to you on my video. I had a bit of a technical problem, so I used my I have a technical problem face. If you notice me wincing a little bit, something happened in the system. So another question is coach
I thought
usually
it was
working
something I
as a
said.
No. So basically, I'll just invite the other panelists to let me complete this next couple of questions, and then we'll have Lisa wrap up in a few minutes. Is the coach usually working as a freelance, self-employed with and will the program help us develop this network? Yes, we will do that. There's lots of different ways coaches are working now. The industry is growing. There's coaching houses, there's procurement for coaches. There's a lot of different ways. So that's a key. But we do help you navigate it, make sure you have advice, and help you develop your network as well. And we have a global network that we also invite. I mean, you've become a part of it if you're a part of our organization. And we're quite expansive and helpful in that process. Another question from somebody. Wait, let me just find it quick. Carol. Carol, you asked about would we have more info on the courses in May and July? Yes. We will contact you and send you more, but specifically make sure you receive it. But everyone will get the information about it. And again, we're happy to have a conversation with you to find out if coaching is right for you. One other person in the coaching course, we learn about the brain in the way that Tony has just described. Yes, our programs are grounded in cutting edge neuroscience, and we make sure, we give you what you need and give you opportunity to learn much more than you could ever imagine that there is. And there's a lot of research being done in this area. So yeah, we do specifically talk about these aspects of how the brain processes information, and the methodologies that we work with are actually built on the neural architecture of the brain and accessing neuroplasticity to develop change. So it's quite a powerful system.
One more thing just to add
question
to that.
from somebody else.
Sorry,
Yeah.
All right, sorry, it's difficult on a webinar, isn't it? Just one more thing, just to really say that one of the things that we're quite proud of with our program is the fact that that everything that we do is evidence-based. There's no flakiness on the program at all. It's all grounded in either neuroscience or science generally. Okay, so there is that.
Thanks, Tony. And I'll just answer Michael's question and then hand it over to Lisa, and we'll finish hopefully just a little bit later than the hour here. So we've talked a lot about specific coaching skills. What's the role of experience outside of coaching? How does that play in becoming a coach? Thanks for the question. Great question, actually. And again, it's part of our process. It's actually very important to leverage and access and create value from the experience that you've had, whether it's technical, whether it's specialist, whether it's life, leadership, etc. It plays a role in the things that you're interested in, but it's also developed the way you think, where you're skillful in asking questions, building trust, and the kinds of people that might hire you to be a coach. So it's a great opportunity to leverage that. And we work with you not only in groups, but also in the individual mentor coaching work we do with all of our coaches to help you specifically figure out how your experience fits and how you can best apply it. So that's a real key to the journey. So we're hitting the top. People are beginning to drop away. So let me pass it back to Lisa, and you can just finish off with a final word. And thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much. So as I said, I'm not able to see you, well, you're not able to see me, but you can hear me. These are the wonders of live, of course. Thank you so much for having been with us and attending this webinar on coaching. As mentioned, I hope you're walking away with answers, all your questions being answered, and at least knowing a bit better what coaching is and what coaching is not. If you have any questions, remarks, curiosities, you want to just have a chat with us, see if coaching is for you. Maybe you want to start a coach training, maybe not. Maybe you want to get coached. Just please do reach out to us. We'd be super happy to speak to you, to hear from you. Go and visit our website, transcendinternational.com. And yes, also, as I did mention, we have 10 more live webinars coming up in weeks and months to come. So go and have a look at the calendar of these webinars on our website again. And we look forward to seeing you, or at least hearing from you, very soon. Thank you so much, and stay safe and healthy. Bye.